My name is Christopher Robert Cornelius. It is Sunday, I think January 10th or 11th. I don't know, somewhere around there. Haven't posted for a while. I'm trying to figure out where I fit. And as usual, I can't find a spot to fit into. I'm currently walking east on 6 Highway. It'd be a Christmas miracle if somebody actually stopped and asked me if I need a ride. I guess people just don't do that anymore. I don't know. I do. If it feels right. I always stop and ask people if they want a ride. I guarantee they're not out there walking for their health. I surely am not. A couple months ago, I had a near-death experience. And I wasn't a big fan of what I saw in the afterlife. Although what few friends I've seen come to me after they died, it's making perfect sense now. God isn't dead. He's just not where we think he is. And all I want is to see my kids desperately. Both of my children, Molly and Rhythm, both. I'm homeless again. I was living at Johnny's, and I'm not even going to get into why I'm not living there anymore. I wish it was something as easy as I stole from him, and that's what you get for stealing from a friend, or I disrespected his parents, or something, but it's not that easy. I don't steal. I used to when I was younger, but I don't anymore. Haven't for years. Certainly not from a friend. And certainly not from a friend's family who put me up. I'm not going to get into the he said, she said, who's to blame, who's not to blame. The point is, I'm homeless again. And staying with my father. And the only thing I want in this world, besides my kids and my life, and besides the love of my life, is a lofted tiny home that I built with my own two hands, you know? On land that's been a part of my bloodline for, Jesus, over 200 years, you know? 150 years, at least. I can't get into housing. I've tried, and it's a dead-end road. Trust me, I've got close friends that work for a housing authority. They can't help me. The best they could do was tell me to fill out the paperwork for Section 8, and then even then, it's a 3-year waiting list. And well, the way our country's going right now, our country's in its death throes, you know? It really is. There are no subsidies coming. There are no stimulus packages coming. I know I didn't work my whole life and plan. That's my own fault. If I sit around and talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda all day long, well, at the end of the day, I'm still right here, homeless. Nowhere to go except my father's house. And that's only temporary. My father and stepmother own somewhere in the area of 600 or 700 acres of prime cropland. And, you know, this last year, because of the tariffs, they took a hard hit. They wouldn't even have made anything if they didn't have insurance, but they did have insurance, and that's thinking ahead. That's smart planning, you know? That's smart planning. I just don't understand why, you know, I walk down the street, I see all these vacant houses. St. Joe has, right now, somewhere in the area of 1,000 vacant homes. And that number is predicted to more than triple by year's end. And the houses that are being lived in, I see huge 5, 6, 7 bedroom houses being lived in by one person, maybe two. I don't want a huge house. I just want 1 acre. 1 acre where I can dig my hands into the soil, and it's the same soil that 7 generations of Corneliuses have dug their hands into. The same soil that 6 or 7 generations of Corneliuses have bled into. I'm not a farmer, although I would have liked to have been one. I'm not even really a blue-collar worker, although I support them. I just want, 4 walls and a roof on a piece of land that's mine, that can't be taken away from me. I want to be able to paint the house any color I want. I want to give it my sweat and my tears. I want to give it my sweat and my tears so that my son or my daughter, if they find themselves hungry or homeless, they can turn their face to the east and come home. They can throw their bags down on my front porch and smell a good meal being cooked on the stove. My dad asked me, don't you have a counselor you can talk to? Somebody you can go talk to? And I do. And I've talked to them. And when I talk to my counselors, they say to me, Chris, we've exhausted all efforts trying to find something for you. You've either fucked up all avenues or exhausted all avenues. And without me saying anything to either one of my counselors, counselor at New Seasons Treatment Center or my old counselor from New Seasons, she now is a counselor and a housing person at Housing Authority, both of them say, your last name is Cornelius, isn't it? And I already know where they're going with it. And I say, yes, it is. Why do you ask? Well, don't you have a little bit of family out east of town? Doesn't your father own several hundred acres? Yes, they do. Are you telling me that whatever it is you've done in your past, whatever it was so bad, you can't talk your father into giving you or selling you 1 acre of land? You're going to tell me that all the acres they have out there, all of them, they're using all of them? Now they can't spare even a half an acre? And anytime I bring it up, it's a good question. My father says he won't talk about it. I don't know what that means. He says it's not part of the plan. And when I ask him what that plan is, he says he doesn't want to talk about it. If plan, does he mean part of the plan, like making sure that the Corneliuses always have a place to go? And always, is he talking about the plan where he leaves a legacy behind and his children, his children's children, and his children's children's children are all able to, at some point in their lives, say, boy, you know, it was touch and go there for a minute. You know, but thank God and thank the heavens that Catherine Cornelius had enough sound mind to leave what she had to her son, Bob Cornelius. Because if she hadn't, then he wouldn't have been able to come up with this plan that made sure that Cornelius is on down the road after my father is gone, after I'm gone, after my brother Jed is gone, and even after my son Rhythm and my daughter Molly and my brother's kids, Jack and Lexi, even after they're gone and they have kids, is part of the plan involve all of them? Because unless the plan directly involves and making sure that a Cornelius always has somewhere they can call home, then what was the point of all the other Corneliuses before us working their asses off to make sure we had something that could be handed down? What was the point of my grandfather, LB, scooping out the old grain in the silo, getting it ready for the following season's crops, and it caved in on him. It caved in on him and he died from asphyxiation when I was only 4. He will have died in vain. If the plan my father speaks of isn't a plan that is a legacy for every Cornelius from today on into the future. We have some really hard times ahead of us. I know we do. I'm the reality. I'm the speaking, living reality of those times. All I know is that when I die, I want people to speak my name and speak it with pride in their voice and know that Christopher Cornelius did everything he could to make sure there was a plan in place so his kids that had the last name Cornelius and his kids had that last name Cornelius. I want to make sure that my brother Jed and his children have a plan in place so that my brother Jed's great-grandchildren, if there ever be a time in the future when America isn't the great empire that it used to be, and they're not able to feed or house my children, my brother's children, my brother's grandchildren, or my grandchildren, that if they ever find themselves destitute with nothing and nowhere to go, instead of turning their back on the east, they'll turn their face to the rising sun and search out that farmland that's been in our family for over 150 years. That's all I want. If I gotta die homeless fighting for that, then I guess that's what's gonna happen. All I want is an acre. All I want is to be able to buy an acre. I get $948 a month in disability. It's not enough to get a place with. The only way I'm ever going to get a place is if I own the place. My last ditch effort is when I get my next disability check, I will have exactly $1,000. I could be using it to try and get SATOP so I can get my license back, or I could be using it to feed myself, or get a couple of weeks at a motel room like I usually do. But instead, I'm going to take that $1,000. I'm going to cash it out into cash, and I'm going to offer my father and my stepmother $1,000 cash for a half an acre of land, non-crop land, considered pasture land. And I think it's crazy that a homeless Cornelius has to offer his own family money Who ever heard of such a fucking crazy thing? A Cornelius taking some of his own disability money and offering another Cornelius that money just so I can have a roof over my head till the day I die. I can't be in town anymore because I'm going to end up being arrested because I can't sleep on the streets. I guess I'll let you know what happens. It's Christopher Cornelius on this beautiful Sunday evening. I'm walking up on my home. How beautiful is that home out there? Looks kind of bare, doesn't it? With none of the fucking, no trees around it. It's awfully bare too. That wind comes whipping through there. I don't know if my grandmother and grandfather, I feel like they had a vision, you know. They had a vision that the land they farmed would be able to somehow, someday in the future, be able to provide for later generations that they would never meet. Am I supposed to just give up that fight? Am I supposed to just live in a tent in town somewhere? If my dad had worked his whole life so he could have this house, my stepmother had worked her whole life so they could have this house, then I wouldn't say anything about it. And I'm not saying neither one of them haven't worked hard their entire lives, because they have. A lot harder than I have. But this house and land were given to them. This house and land were given to them not so they could give it away to people that weren't Cornelius's. It was given to them so they could carry on a legacy. When we die, we're gone. Most people will never even remember who we were. That summer you worked all summer long, you know, for that car will be gone. That love who caused you so much pain won't even be a memory. The only thing we have left after we die is our legacy. That's all anyone has. I don't know about anybody else, but I know my spirit will not rest in peace, leaving it to a plan I know nothing about.